Ernst and Young slashes partner ranks, signaling tougher times for the big four consulting firms in the US. Recent news reports suggest that Ernst and Young is laying off dozens of partners across the US businesses in a deeper round of partner cuts than what was usually given. The layoffs come as the big four accounting firm faces slowing demand for certain services and seeks to cut costs. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Think Consulting. Today, we are diving deep into the layoffs in general across the US and at Ernst & Young, a topic that's been making news and waves in business circles around the globe. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, don't forget to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our thought-provoking content. We are going to break down this news and explore all the angles in this story. The latest layoffs at Ernst & Young follow Ernst & Young's move earlier this year in April of 2023 to let go of about 3,000 employees in the US, representing about 5% of its workforce at the time. Other major accounting firms and consulting firms like KPMG and Deloitte have made similar moves recently, laying off thousands of US workers amid tough economic conditions. Professional services firms aggressively hired during the pandemic to meet higher demand in areas like digital transformation. Now, with slower revenue growth and attrition rates below expectations, these firms are cutting staff to reduce costs. Ernst & Young's layoffs mark an effort to restructure and boost profitability after its failed plan to split its auditing and consulting arms into two separate businesses. Details of the current layoff, the way it's looking right now, is it's across all of the US business lines, and it's a little deeper than usual. And news has it that the cuts are primarily focused on the advisory side or the consulting side of its US operation. Over 10% of the consulting partners are being affected, which equates to more than 100 people at both junior and senior levels. Additionally, around 4% of the partners in strategy and transactions are also being cut, totaling to over 30 people. While some US partners typically tend to cut annually based on performance, the current layoffs are larger in scale compared to previous years, according to sources that have been cited in the news. The firm started informing affected partners last week with additional notifications expected now. Reasons for the layoff are the slowing demand in economy, excess capacity in certain service areas, leading to staff cuts. And by trimming partner ranks, E&Y aims to cut costs and boost profitability as business conditions get tougher. The consulting business typically tends to ebb and flow depending on economic conditions, while audit business remains fairly stable due to ongoing reporting requirements. But consulting now makes up a larger portion of the revenue at E&Y and other professional services firms like KPMG and Deloitte. So the cyclical nature of consulting demand impacts them more than what has been in the past. Ernst & Young saw their cost cutting after their failure to split the audit and consulting arms into two different firms earlier this year. This layoff can help it restructure, focus on high demand service areas going forward, slowing revenue growth and competition from KPMG and Deloitte to reduce staff numbers in 2022 as they reoriented their business models and capacity will poise them for a better footing next year. Now, professional services firms typically and large accounting firms and consulting firms have had an excess staff that they hired during the pandemic. And they were mostly focused on corporate strategy and digital transformation initiatives across the industry. After the pandemic, attrition has been slower than anticipated, and hence it gives you an understanding of why they're trying to get rid of people and paring down their ranks through layoffs and other measures. And with the demand and the flow changing according to the economic conditions, it is more likely that this is going to continue. And this will continue, in my opinion, more on the consulting or the advisory side as opposed to the audit side, as audit typically tends to remain a little more stable and has that demand due to their reporting requirements that most of these firms have to be supporting. In terms of revenue, Ernst & Young brought about $23 billion in revenue from the US region which includes the US, for the fiscal year ending in 2022, June 30th. This is a 12% increase over the previous financial year. However, revenue growth has slowed about 19% from the previous year. Consulting continues to be a significant portion of E&Y's numbers, and globally has generated about 22 billion in revenue, or about 45% of the firm's total 49 billion in revenue. This deceleration in growth, particularly in consulting, reflects the overall slowdown in demand and economy as clients become more cautious with spending amid the economic uncertainty. Professional services firms get affected by this, and a lack of attrition as the market cools off is why we are seeing these moves happen across the industry. And since their reorganization plan had failed and their plans to split audit and consulting into two units did not work out, which was initially intended to help resolve these potential conflicts of interest between audit and consulting, we see these moves happen. To note is that their company actually had some divisions, and which caused the derailment of the split. Now, the management tends to find itself to be going back to the table to find what's the best way to restructure and cut costs and increase profitability. And they are reevaluating their organizational framework to operate more efficiently after abandoning the separation of the two arms. The failure of the split was a major setback for E&Y after working on the breakup plan for years. Now, the firm is looking inward to reorganize its business line, streamline operations, and boost profitability in the United States. The partner cuts enable E&Y to realign its resources and talent to best serve clients and demand going forward. Now, E&Y has also proposed governance reforms that would increase the influence of US partners when it comes to voting on organizational strategy and oversight. The proposed reforms are intended to provide US partners with more voice on major decisions impacting the firm. This includes granting US partners greater voting power on issues like long-term strategic planning, executive pay, oversight of member firms, and the appointment of global leadership. Currently, global partners have significantly more voting power than the US partners in these areas. The proposed changes will rebalance things by giving US partners, who make up the largest share of the global workforce at Ernst and Young, it'll give them more say commensurate with their size and contributions. The extended voting will cover areas that US partners felt were important for having input on following the contentious split debate. Partners are expected to finish voting on whether to approve the proposed governance reforms sometime this month of December of 2023. Now, Janet Trunkale, an E&Y America's Financial Services executive, has been named as E&Y's new global chairperson effective July of 2024. She will take over leadership of the firm as it attempts to move past its failed plan to split the auditing and the consulting business into two separate companies. Trunkale is expected to lead efforts to reorganize E&Y and implement any structural or strategic changes needed in the aftermath of the failed split. As someone with experience in financial services, one of E&Y's core industries, Trunkale seems well positioned to understand the needs of her clients and of E&Y clients. Her leadership will be critical as E&Y seeks to redefine its global strategy and direction following the collapse of the breakup plan. In her new role, Trunkale will guide E&Y into the next era, beyond the proposed split that did not come to fruition. Her tenure as the global chair will likely focus on moving E&Y forward and helping the firm progress after all of these divisions and internal turmoil and distraction over the past year. Now, some junior partners at E&Y were surprised when they received notification about being laid off. According to people close to the situation, many felt their performance was strong and did not see the cuts coming. The cuts have hit some rising stars at the firm who were previously viewed as up-and-comers with bright futures in E&Y. This has caused unease for other junior partners who now feel that their job security may be more precarious than they realized, despite their positive reviews and feedback at the firm. And saying that, I'd like to say morale has taken a particular hit with partner cuts, especially on the consulting side, where the reductions were the deepest. There is a sense that even performing well is no longer enough. and it does not protect you at the firm. Some partners are updating their resumes and networking more proactively in case they are impacted in a future layoff round. The partner cuts have reinforced the view among some at E&Y that the firm cares first and foremost about protecting profitability, even at the expense of its loyal employees. For junior partners who thought their standings were solid, the abruptness of the layoffs came as a shock. Now, E&Y is working to reposition itself and transform the business to align with shifting client needs. The layoffs, while difficult, will help the firm streamline operations and reduce costs, improving profitability. The proposed governance reforms aim to empower U.S. partners more in decision making. The appointment of a new chair globally signals a fresh start for E&Y post the split. With resilient leadership and strategic moves to adapt, E&Y can emerge stronger despite the current headwinds. The firm has long track record and will need to leverage its brand equity, talent, and capabilities to navigate this transitional period. While near-term conditions look tough, E&Y maintains fundamental strength. With focus and commitment, the firm can reinvent itself and maintain leadership in the professional services industry. Thank you for joining us today on Think Consulting. I'm Vikar, and I hope you found this in-depth analysis enlightening. Please let me know in the comment section about your thoughts on Ernst and Young's layoff decision and how they approached it. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more discussions on finance and consulting.